Okay, so let's go back to the website here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Okay. Um, okay, so nice job, you guys. I think everybody's doing really cool stuff. I'm excited to see the work you guys are doing come to fruition. Um, a couple things I wanted to tell you quickly. Hopefully you guys got my email that Tabletop Simulator is having a sale right now. It's 50% off. The normal price is $20 for a copy, and then $15 if you four people buy it once or you buy four licenses. But until tomorrow, it's 50% off. So if you haven't bought a copy of Tabletop Simulator, it's only 10 bucks right now. Uh, Type Tabletop Simulator into your browser, go to the Steam page for that, and buy it for 10 bucks. You know, download the Steam software as well, and it's a great deal. Okay, ends tomorrow. All right, now a couple things. I wanted to introduce a free textbook that you guys can use. It's this book right here called Challenges, and it's no longer in print. So let me go ahead and just open it up real quick. It's a PDF, and okay, I guess Acrobat is installing a update, so we'll see that book in just a second. Um, okay, but while we're waiting for that book to load, I did want to tell you something. I want you guys to download this book, and the first chapter is pretty long. So when I say read chapter one, I don't mean like spend a week reading chapter one. I mean, just start reading chapter one. Start looking at the information that's in there because that's what we're going to discuss in class. All right. Um, for an assignment, I want you guys to work on your board games either with your team or solo. And then I have an article here for you guys to check out. Let me go ahead and open this up so you guys can see it. Whoa. So this is the best games of 2019, and they go ahead and they review some games from last year, and they talk about why they're good, and you know, things about the games that could be improved. So this is an interesting article to see, you know, just to learn about new games, but also to see how games are reviewed and what they look at. Now, I also put up a new blog post for this week, and it's called Greg's Guide to Board Game Design. And if you click on this link, it's going to download a PDF, which I don't know if we can read because apparently Acrobat is uploading or updating. Okay, so this is the PDF, and this first section here is for notes that I'm giving you about your project that you're working on right now. So, you know, you guys, many of you, especially on the teams, have already done this. You start out brainstorming with the sky as the limit. So don't put any limit on yourselves at first. And you can always bring your ideas back down to earth, you know, after you come up with them, right? And then once you have come up with them, you know, try and whittle them down into the simplest version of the game that you can create. It's much easier to start with a simple game and then scale up, right? And one of the games that I mentioned here, let's see, I've got to start my chat window here. Okay. All right, thank you, Coulter. Let me do my participants up here. Okay, there's a game that I wanted to show you, which is this game right here called Bullfrogs. It's on Amazon, and it is $30. Now, this game is a good one to point to as an example of a simple game, yet a very successful game. Now, this is a card game that also has some other components to it. But you can see right here, this is the artwork, you know, bullfrogs, and you see all these cute little frogs. You can read this text right here that tells you, gives you the rough outline of the game. Simple rules to start playing fast. Now, that's a big plus. People, you know, a lot of people hate when games come with really thick rule books that are hard to understand. They just want to start playing. So then it says, carefully choose a card, place your frogs, and vie for control of the lily pads. So very quickly you get an idea that this is sort of a territorial acquisition game. Beautiful artwork adds the elegant gameplay. So they're advertising, marketing one of the aspects of the game, which is a real hook. They tell you the number of players, which is 2 to 4. They give you the age range, which is 8 years old and up. And this is a real hook, playing time 20 to 40 minutes. People love games that they can play in 15 to 30 minutes. If you put 1 to 2 hours on your game, it's less attractive unless it's the hardcore gamer people who like to really spend some time. Now let's look at some of the aspects of this game from the art perspective. So you can see this is the back of the box, and it looks very attractive, right? You can see an example of the game there. They've got a nice logo, that little Bullfrogs logo. Here they show you the layout of the game with all these attractive components, good-looking cards, and then there's a bunch of wooden pieces there, which are the frogs, right? This shows you there's 2 kinds of frogs, the regular frogs and then these sort of battle frogs that have axes, right? Look out for them. And then this is an example of their beautiful artwork. And in fact, the artwork is beautiful. It looks very well rendered. You can see how nice the tiles are. They go next to each other. And so it's very appealing. And there's little spaces there for the bullfrogs. And then here is more of their artwork, just kind of all put together. And then they even have a video that, can help show you how the game works, right? So I saw a video. The guy who made this game was talking to a game design convention, and he spent an hour talking about it, and he really wanted to get into game design, and he said, I decided that I was going to make the simplest game I possibly could and learn about it. And so he made a simple game. This one, I think he put it on Kickstarter, and I think he had a success there with it. So let me go to Kickstarter and see if it's actually on there. Let's see, it's called Bullfrogs. Okay, so search. So we'll say Bullfrogs. Who knows what we could get in Bullfrogs? A strategy game of amphibian combat. Okay, that sounds pretty much like it. Oops. Okay. Bullfrogs. Okay. So, all right. You can see that he did this game in 2017, right? And look at this number here. He got almost 1,000 people to back it, and at a cost of $30,000. So he really did himself a proud here. Now you can also see, look at the artwork here. This was maybe his original concept, but it's not nearly as good looking as what he came up with, right? So it was his concept, and his art was just good enough to get people interested, and then he made the excellent decision to use some of that money to hire a good artist, right? And you can see here, they unlock these things called stretch goals. Okay, let me just move this video out of the way here. Sorry, it's like everything just decided to launch. So you can see he had a bunch of stretch goals here that unlocked, and he upgraded everything, the box and the cards and everything. Now let's go ahead and quickly watch his video to see how he pitched this game, because this kind of stuff is really interesting. The video on a Kickstarter can make or break a game. Let's check this thing out.
Weapons clash, water splashes, and the booming battle cries of armored bullfrogs ring out across the moonlit swamp. Amphibian armies leap from lily pad to lily pad in their desperate struggle to win control of the pond.
Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I'm Keith Mateka, and I'm here to show you my new card game, Bullfrogs. Bullfrogs is a quick area control game of tactical combat for 2 to 4 players that takes about 30 minutes to play. Players take command of warring frog factions and attempt to outmaneuver each other for dominance over the pond. Each opponent battles for lily pads by deploying, sabotaging, and jumping units on an ever-changing battlefield. On a turn, players will play a card, take actions, and use their cunning to lead a frog battalion to victory.
Suddenly, a shout of triumph rises up. Enough warriors have finally entered battle on a lily pad to dominate the fight and ensure victory for their side. The winning commander must understand the ripple effects of every move and avoid acting to win a single battle at the cost of losing the war.
So where are we on Bullfrogs? Well, I've tested it extensively over the last year, and it's gone through many iterations to make sure it's as fun as possible. The illustration by John Ariosa and the graphic design by Luis Francisco is complete and looks awesome. You can check out the how to play video, the print and play version, and the rulebook below. To make this game a reality, we need your help to move to the printing stage. If Bullfrogs looks interesting to you, please consider pledging or sharing it on sites like Facebook and Twitter. Making this game has been an amazing journey. Again, thank you so much for watching.
Okay, so what do you guys think about that video? Did you like the video? Do you think it was effective?
I think it was pretty effective. I mean, at least for the most part, he got his point across and was able to explain how the game worked. I mean, in a sense, it's just like there were some parts like the audio was kind of weird, which
Yeah.
turned me off of wanting to like keep listening, but that was about the only problem.
Okay. So it was a little amateurish in the,
Right.
yeah. Okay. Now, sometimes that can be kind of charming,
Yeah.
in a way, because you get the feeling that this is just some dude who's very passionate and doesn't have all the skills, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I think a big part of, I agree that that's a turnoff whenever there's technical issues like that. But a big part of the appeal of a Kickstarter video is that there's a passionate someone. You know, you notice that that a big chunk of the video was just focused on him. And like you could see he was excited, you know, hi, I'm a game maker and I made this game and I really need your help. And those are the kind of appeals that bring in pledges, right? Okay, what else? What else did you think was good or that could be improved about this video, you guys? Somebody else.
I think maybe moving animations instead of just pictures could have helped. Um, yeah,
Pictures of what?
I think instead of pictures, they could have used like animation.
Right, right. That would have been more effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, did you see at the very beginning they had this sort of cheese ball animation where they were just taking the graphic and just kind of moving it a little? Yeah. That's kind of like that's like your 5-year-old nephew's animation program, right?
Yeah.
Take these frogs and make them move. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, and that's a good suggestion, Cal. So clearly, this video could have been made more appealing and with fewer technical issues and more advanced artistry. And in that case, it might have brought in even more pledges, right? Because what happens if you make a video that's a little substandard? What do you communicate to your audience?
Well, that like kind of how it's like how you were saying that that kind of video kind of shows that he's an amateur. It could be like, oh, does he have the necessary equipment to make a game like this? Does he have all the things he needs? But then in that same sense, it could drive someone to donate more because they're like, well, if he uses my money, he has a cool idea. So it
Right.
goes both ways, kind of.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was looking for is like part of what you're, because Kickstarter obviously is a great way to get games funded, whether they be video games or board or card games or whatever. But part of what you're doing in your video is you're showing your level of competence, right? And even
Right.
though this guy's got a good idea, the fact that his audio kind of sucked and that his animation was not very professional makes you wonder if the game's going to be any good, right? Now, this guy was successful, and I think partially because when you just watch the part with him in it, he looked very honest and earnest and excited, and so you made a connection with him, and you're like, yeah, I want to fund this guy because he seems like he's excited and he's going to do good.
I'd
The
buy
other
a game
thing,
from that guy.
yeah, yeah. The other thing was he actually did have the artwork created, and you saw some of the beautiful artwork, right?
Right.
So the combination of this guy's enthusiasm, plus the beautiful artwork, plus, frankly, the fact that it's a really simple concept that even your cat could probably pull off, right? Um, gives you enough information to go ahead and say, let's see, how much is it going to cost me? $22. So you're not taking much of a risk, right? Like Creed, would you fund this game?
Oh yeah, especially for 22 bucks, you know, like, and then
Right.
that's 22 bucks a guaranteed copy of Bullfrogs, so that's
Right.
cool.
Yeah. And I think that's the calculus that most people made. Now, I think if this guy, it was his first game ever, he knows he did a lot of things wrong. I think if he were remaking it today, he'd do a lot of things differently. But if you guys are considering putting some of your games up eventually on Kickstarter, it's a good idea to start watching these. You can go to Kickstarter and you can subscribe to a free newsletter where they'll send you the latest games that are looking for funding, and you can start watching the components of the campaigns, the game ideas, the artwork, the videos, and then when you have some time and money and you're interested, fund some of them, because then you learn even more about how the process is created. And it takes a lot of research to do an effective Kickstarter project. Okay, now this one was a success, and part of the reason it was a success was because he asked for a very reasonable goal, which is $15,000, which I've noticed is pretty common on a lot of, especially card game type of Kickstarters. $15,000 is just enough of a goal to show you're serious, and if you make more than that, then great, you've covered your goal funding. But $15,000 is probably approximately what it costs to print the minimum amount of games where you can actually have them made in China, right? Like, for example, we know this guy made his game in China because it says right here on the back of the box, made in China, right? Now, when you make games in China, especially through a company like Panda Games, they have a minimum of 1,500 copies that you have to get, okay? So I'm going to do the math here. You guys can probably do it quicker than me, but let me just go. Let's see. 1,500 copies times $22 is $33,000, right? And it turns out he made $30,000, right? So, maybe he wasn't going with Panda Games. Maybe instead of 1,500 games, maybe he was going with some company that had like 1,000 games, limit or minimum. And of course, that's 22,000. So, if you just keep doing the math down, he probably went with a company. Let's see. Let me try 750 times 22. That's still, wow. Let me try 500. I'm just keep going down. Okay. So this is probably what he found. He probably found a company that will take a minimum order of 500. Okay? 500 games at $22 a game is 11,000, right? Then you have shipping and you have all your stretch goals you have to do, plus you want to make some kind of a profit on the game, right? So that was probably his calculus. In fact, I could go back to the video and he probably says it, right? The video that he made about talking about this game. But so you can keep that in mind, when you get to the point where you're thinking about making real games and getting support from sites like Kickstarter, all the different components that come into it, the way you present the game, the money you ask for, what that's going to pay for, all the stretch goals, and so on and so forth. Okay, so very cool. All right, let's go back to the class website here. Okay, beam@dreamco.com. All right. Okay, so let me try again a second time, clicking on this challenges PDF. Last time it decided to be weird. Okay, there it is. It looks like Acrobat was doing an update. Okay, so I would like you guys to download this PDF and start reading the first chapter. You don't have to read the whole thing, just start reading it. It's very long and there's a bunch of information in here, but the information is very good. And it really addresses, look at this, I'm not even past the table of contents yet. So there's an introduction, and then finally we get to, on page 25, we get to chapter 1, right? But it's really good. He talks about the building blocks of games. These building blocks apply to video games as well as card and board games. And one of the things we're learning in this class is theory and concepts, so that you can take those and build your video and other games. So, just start looking at this, start reading these pages and stuff, and we'll talk about these concepts in class. All right. Now, the last thing I wanted to do today is I've taken some notes here from my readings of the book, and I just wanted to, I'm calling it a study guide here, but I just wanted to go over some of the key points from the book and from the first chapter and discuss these things with you guys. So the first thing one of the first things they talk about is they ask, what is game design? And they give a definition of it. Good game design is the process of creating goals that a player feels motivated to reach and rules that a player must follow as he makes meaningful decisions in pursuit of those goals. Okay, my first question to you guys is, do you agree with that definition? If not, how do you disagree with it? Does it seem like a fairly reasonable summary of game design?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say so.
Okay, so some of the things that I've highlighted here, goals. So goals are like victory conditions, right? How do you win the game? Rules are always a key part of how a game is played. And there's two other things here that are really important that we don't talk about so much. The players have to feel motivated to reach the goal. So just creating a goal is not enough in a game. There has to be a reason people want to get to the goal. Like, for example, if you put them in a haunted house, and then you start throwing everything, kitchens and not kitchens, zombies and monsters and everything, the kitchen sink at them, and there's like a home base that they can get to and be safe, then they're motivated to reach that goal. Or if there's some big payoff, like maybe there's literally a cardboard crown on the table, and if they kill everybody on the battlefield, they get to take that crown and put it on their heads. That's a pretty meaningful goal that they want to reach, right? So when you are working on your games, think about the kind of goals that you want to reach, and or that other people might like to reach, and incorporate those into your games, because then it becomes fun. It's something that people want. Maybe your game includes like little cardboard cutout pieces of a knight in armor, and every time they do a successful mission, they get a new piece of the armor, and then it becomes really fun. It's a puzzle, and they get to put it together to win the game, right? Now, the other thing here that is mentioned that I put in bold is meaningful decisions. Now, let me ask you guys this question. There are two aspects of gaming that are very important: luck and skill. What percentage of luck and skill do you think need to be involved in a game to make it successful?
50-50.
I would agree with that. 50-50, right? Now, why 50-50? What happens if you get more than 50% of one or the other?
Maybe the game became not fair because it depends of luck or depend of the other. It's not fair, and someone is supposed to win always.
Right. So let's take these percentages and let's take them up to 100%. Can somebody give me an example of a game which is 100% luck?
Poker.
Poker involves some skill.
The casinos game.
Yes.
One with machines that do. I don't know the name of that.
The slot machine.
The slot machines.
Excellent example. A slot machine is totally luck. There's no real skill at pulling that thing, right? I mean, you can rub your little bunny leg, charm. You can come in on Tuesdays. You can come in on your birthday. It's not going to change the way that you pull that arm, right?
Yeah.
That's completely luck. Now, give me an example of a game that is completely skill.
Trivia Pursuit.
Trivial Pursuit. That has
Chess.
Chess is the one I was looking for. Chess is completely skill. There's no luck in that game at all. Everything is based on decisions that you make. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about playing slot machines versus playing chess, and both of them have their pros and cons. But each one of them is a little unsatisfying in a way. Uh, the slot machine is unsatisfying because you have no control over it whatsoever. You're literally just throwing your money in the air and hoping that it lands back in front of you with more money attached to it, right? That's very disconcerting, and it's why gambling is such a risk because you have zero control over what happens, right? Uh, and on the other end of the spectrum, chess, if you're somebody who's just very cerebral and you only like games that are completely skillful, then maybe you love chess. However, if you're somebody who gets bored by the fact that every aspect of the game is a complete cerebral head munch that you have to think through for 12 hours before making your next move, then it's not fun, right? In other words, each one of these games occupies the extreme edge of the spectrum, right? So ideally what we want is a game that's sort of 50-50, that's half luck and half skill. That way, the skill part of it allows you to make meaningful decisions that affect your play. And the luck part of it just throws either monkey wrenches or windfalls your way. And it's the combination of those two things that make a game really fun. Okay. All right, now going down to this next point here. It says, good game design is player-centric. That means that above all else, the player and her desires are truly considered. Now, can any of you guys or gals name a game that you think was developed to be player-centric?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Very good. And why?
Because you can completely customize the character, their backgrounds, all that junk, and essentially role play as the character you want to be.
I agree, and I think Dungeons and Dragons has been successful all this time because of how much it empowers the player, right? Okay, who else has an example? That's a great one. Who else
I
can
was
think of it?
thinking like The Sims. That's the first thing that popped into my head because
Okay.
like it's very player involved. Like you could choose what the hell your Sims wear, how they look, what they do. If you end up drowning them in a pool, you can do that. It's just a very pretty free-form game, so you can just choose to do whatever you want in it.
Right, and aren't there a lot of games, video games, like that lets you choose your character's armor and
Like
weapons?
Fallout and other open world games.
Yeah. I mean, so basically, the more power you put in the hands of your customer, your user, presumably the more they're going to enjoy the game because the more it's going to reflect their choices, right? So, in other words, once again, at extreme ends of the spectrum, a game that foists all its choices on its users is not going to be fun, but a game that lets users pick as many things as they can possibly pick is going to be fun because then they make an attachment to the character, to the choice of weapon, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, so talking about these meaningful decisions distilled down to its essence. Game design is about creating opportunities for players to make meaningful decisions that affect the outcome of the game. So they want to feel empowered. They want their skill and their choice to allow them to win the game, and with a little luck coming their way too. Okay, so all right, I'm going to skip out of this for a second. I'm going to go back over to my little guide here, if it'll come up. Let's see. Okay, so this is on the blog. This is the PDF that I made, and we talked about bullfrogs. So just a couple more bullet points here. You might think of what genre or combination of genres does your game occupy, right? Like, is it territorial acquisition, like Risk, where you're going out and grabbing territory? Is it a strategy game? Is it a luck of the draw? Is it some combination, right? If you can identify the genre of your game, it helps you find similar games that you can take mechanics from, right? So let's see an example. So let's see, of the teams that talked about game ideas today, do any of you guys have an idea of what genre your game might occupy?
Yes.
Okay.
My card game is a strategy.
Strategy game. Okay, good. What about you, Coulter? Do you know
Since our game's kind of like poker, it's just kind of strategy and luck of the draw because you never know what cards you're exactly gonna get.
Right, and poker is a nice balance of the two, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Jazz, have you got an idea what your where your game lies in the whole genre world?
Yeah, ours is cyberpunk. Uh, going to be using more of the hacking side of cyberpunk, though.
Okay, and then Jaden, what about your game?
I'm part of the poker team.
Oh, you're on the same team with Coulter, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. So who's on another team? I don't have my list here.
I
Um,
am.
Team two with our Man of War game.
okay,
Yeah, Team
Joshua.
Two.
So what genre is your game?
We kind of have a few genres. Like we have the islands for territorial acquisition stuff. We've got strategy with the ships you choose and where they go. We've got a little bit of luck regarding the wind direction.
Okay, that's all fun. I like, because, obviously the more factors you add in there, the more fun it becomes. Now, how is your game territorial acquisition? Do you actually, if the ship goes to an island, does it like get the island or something?
Yeah, the each player, each side can take control of an island, and when they're at that island, we're still trying to figure out mostly what the islands will do. But I think it could be something where they could repair your ships or give them bonuses or something like that.
Like activate a card or something. Yeah. No,
Okay.
but you do capture the islands as you go to
Mhm.
them.
Okay, cool. All right. And so let's see. Can we hear from somebody that's on another team? So we've heard from, uh, yeah, Cal.
Yeah, I guess mine's strategy too.
Your game is a strategy game as well. Okay, good. Anybody else? Victoria, where does your game fall, do you think?
Um, it might be kind of strategy, to be honest, in terms of the dual part of the game.
Okay, that sounds good. Um, okay, anybody else have an idea of their game? Anybody that we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our game is probably strategy too, just especially based on the stat cards you get. You want to make sure you use them properly to fight the boss and mini boss. So
Okay.
What?
Okay, good. So strategy is a big part of it, right? Okay, so when you guys are developing these games, um, you can go out and look in the marketplace. You can easily just go on Amazon.com or look at what you have on your shelf. And once you've identified the genre, you can look at who the competitors are in that genre. So if it's a strategy game, go into Amazon and type strategy games and see, or strategy card games, see what comes up. Maybe read some of the descriptions, or maybe you're familiar with some of the games, like, oh yeah, Uno, or something like that, and then you can pull ideas from that. Now, if you're making a unique original game, how are you going to differentiate that game from all the others in the market, right? So, let's say this game where you have where it's a combination of poker plus, we're calling it old maid, which is like, just that you take cards from other people. One of the ways you differentiate it is like we talked about with the art, and you set it in a certain like time period or a certain graphic or artistic aesthetic, and that's what makes it different and fun. And if you pick something really popular, then that could help sell the game. Like, for example, space themed games seem to be very popular. War games seem to be very popular. Fantasy is very popular, right? So what is a hook that will make people buy your game over your competition? That's going to be, tied into that, what makes it different. Hopefully what makes it different and the hook are sort of interrelated, you know. Um, Here's some examples of hooks. Is your game cheaper than the competition? Does it have better art? Is it more fun to play, or is it all three, right? Now, some of that you don't know until you actually develop the game a little further. Okay, now when it comes to developing these games, like I talked about earlier, you're going to want to break up the different parts of the game so that everybody contributes something to the development if you're on a team. So you want to assign someone to write the rules, someone to create artwork that might be on the box, someone to create the game cards and or the components, someone to do the board art, someone to design, the mechanics, in other words, come up with the rules in the first place, and so on. So it's a big enough job that you can spread it out over a team, or if you like to work by yourself then and juggle all the jobs, you can do that, right? Now, this is a really key point here. The only way to determine if the game dynamics are working is to play test your game with multiple people. So that means that's where we get into putting your games into Tabletop Simulator and testing it out and seeing how it actually works. Okay, just two last points here. Pay attention to who is not coming through with their work on the team. Try motivating your team members to meet deadlines. If that doesn't work, please talk to me about any issues with team members and I'll talk to them. So in other words, if you've got a team and you guys agree to meet at certain times and somebody consistently is not showing up or contributing, let me know. I'll talk to that. First try to incentivize that person to pull them in and get them to do some of the work so that they're part of the team. If that doesn't work, talk to me and then I'll talk to them and we'll figure something out. Now, my last point here is create a game that you want to play, right? Because, that's if you want to play it, somebody else wants to play it too. Now, these are just points that I'm making about your projects that you're working on now. These other ones I'm not going to go over. These are just some guidelines that I picked up from working on board and card games that apply to making games in, quote, the real world or whatever. Okay, very good. All right, now, so let me just wrap up here with giving you guys an assignment to work on. So I'll just go over this where it says assignments here. So I would like you to download this challenges PDF and start to read the first chapter. It's very long, so just start looking at it. I would like you to do additional work on your game, whether you're developing it as a solo artist or as a team, so that every time we meet as a class, you can show us the progress you've made. You've refined your ideas down. Maybe you've made some sketches of some of the artwork. Whatever you have, you can share with us. You can look at my blog post, which has that PDF on it. You might find some useful information there. And then there's the article about some of the best games of 2019 that's worth looking at. Okay, so that's it for this session. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, good. All right. Well, as I said, I'll just say again, the game ideas you guys have are fantastic. I love them. I'm excited to see what you're going to come up with. I can't wait to see you write the rules and the artwork, and I hope you have fun working with your teams. I think it's wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. You might want to connect with your team members and figure out when you're going to meet and talk and connect so you can make some progress between now and Wednesday. Okay? And I'll leave the class up for a minute or two. If you guys want to, you can use the class chat here to set up meetings with people, or you can even just talk. Okay, so thank you, and have a great couple days, and I'll see you again Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Adios.
Bye.